And we have some breaking news here on this broadcast as well. In a major fallout of the UK leaked cables controversy, UK's ambassador to the US, Sir Kim Darroch, has resigned. He was at the center of the US-UK diplomatic row. His secret diplomatic memos had been leaked where he had called the Trump administration clumsy and inept. The US president had hit back, calling him a stupid guy. We have our associate editor, Ramesh Ramachandran, now joining us on this broadcast. Ramesh, this was when the scandal broke out and how bad it looked and how awkward it made England. This was an eventuality.
Indeed, Krishna, his resignation was imminent and his continuation in office had become untenable after the furor over the leaked tapes and memos detailing his account of the Trump government. And if I can quote from the operative part of his resignation, Krishna, he says, and I quote here, "Since the leak of official documents from this embassy, there has been a great deal of speculation surrounding my position and the duration of my remaining term as ambassador. I want to put an end to that speculation. The current situation is making it impossible Foreign Minister Jeremy Hunt have stood by the British diplomat and the ambassador to the US, saying that he was only doing his duty."
That's right, but what has happened at the end of it is also the way the US and President Donald Trump reacted to the leak of those cables. They didn't take to it kindly at all. Trump had gone on a rant time and again against Sir Kim Darroch over the last 48 hours.
Indeed, Krishna. Now, the fact remains that the memos have been leaked, all right, but we do not know who was behind this leak, so to speak. Was it an internal sort of somebody from the British government or from the embassy in Washington, or a third country? Some are speculating about a third country doing the leak. So we are still investigating and coming to grips with the situation. But the fact remains, if I can quote from British Prime Minister Theresa May's recent remarks, she says that good government depends. Darroch saying that he was only doing his job, but the fact is his continuation of office had become untenable after the leak.
But Ramesh, Jeremy Hunt was the one who did the damage control after those cables got leaked, and he had spoken of how the US and UK share the warmest of relationship. It's all a dichotomy, isn't it? If they do, then how come the ambassador to the US had that kind of carping comments to make in those memos, which is his job to give, as you've been rightly telling us, the right response. And in fact, at the end of this, when the cables got out, the thoughts in Washington was that Sir Kim Darroch was basically saying in his memos what many in the US were already having in their minds.
Absolutely correct, Krishna. The fact that he mentioned about the dysfunctional and inept Trump government was open secret, was public knowledge. But the fact that it got leaked at this point in time is crucial. Now, a couple of events have taken place in the last 48 hours, Krishna. The fact remains that Kim Darroch was disinvited from a Trump event in Washington. That's number one. And yesterday, in the debate between Jeremy Hunt and Boris Johnson, the two contenders for the post of 10 Downing Street Prime Minister's office, Jeremy Hunt saying that the British government wants to stand by its diplomat. He was only doing his job, and that Jeremy Hunt, if he becomes Prime Minister, the ambassador will stay. That's a statement coming in from Jeremy Hunt yesterday. But Boris Johnson, being closer to Trump, and Trump has had good things to say about Boris Johnson, he has remained silent on this issue, choosing to remain mum on this contentious issue in the debate with Jeremy Hunt yesterday. So the fact remains that there's a clear divide in the British domestic politics as we speak between Prime Minister May and Jeremy Hunt on the one hand, and Boris Johnson and Trump on the other hand. So it remains to be seen where the US-UK ties go on from here.
That's exactly where I was going to arrive at, Ramesh, because the US-UK ties, are going through a phase, because of the Brexit mess. There is a lot of lack of clarity in terms of the US-UK ties. There's talk of a deal to be fixed between the US and the UK in terms of bilateral trade that could be locked even before the outcome of the Brexit is clear.
Absolutely. There's many a slip between the cup and the lip, Krishna. The fact remains that Brexit is becoming a reality as the days go by. And Boris Johnson made it very clear that he will see Brexit happen by the 31st of October. The fact remains that Boris Johnson is the leading contender or the front runner for the post of Prime Minister and occupy 10 Downing Street come the 23rd of July, when the results will be announced of the ballot between Jeremy Hunt and Boris Johnson. And Boris Johnson and Donald Trump both enjoy a close relationship, cordial ties. So the fact remains that if Boris Johnson becomes Prime Minister, succeeds Theresa May, one can expect him to recalibrate ties with Washington going forward and appoint a new ambassador who can pursue his government's policy going forward as well.
But what happens if Mr. Jeremy Hunt, wins that election, becomes the Prime Minister?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, Krishna. We don't know for a fact whether who will win and who will lose come the 22nd of July. But the fact remains that as of now, as we speak, Boris Johnson is ahead of Jeremy Hunt. But he has managed to pull some way back after the debate yesterday when he said that Boris Johnson is silent on the issue of Sir Kim Darroch and that he should speak up and make his position clear to the people at large as to where he stands on the issue. And there again, the public opinion is that Jeremy Hunt came out strong on this issue yesterday in the debate.
All right, then the Sir Kim Darroch saga helping Jeremy Hunt in the lead-up to the race for who will become the leader of the Conservative Party in the UK and consequently the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Ramesh Ramachandran, thank you so much for taking time out to join us here on this broadcast for this big piece of break.